Welcome to the Capsule 21 podcast. This is a podcast about art and technology expressed through the blockchain, CryptoPunks, the death of CryptoPunks, new life in CryptoPunks. It's me, Tom Lehman. My internet name is Middlemarch. I'm joined by Dovetail and Piv, my co-hosts. We are the Capsule 21 team, and Capsule 21 is an art project that is an art collective dedicated to basically these same ideas. And today we have a podcast called what is it called? Brainstorm, a new punk deriv. I actually wanted to write more in the headline, but this is a podcast filmed in front of a live Twitter Spaces audience. And when you go to edit a Twitter Space, it is impossible to edit the title unless you add a tag. And if you add a tag, you can only edit the title if it doesn't go onto the second line. So this was going to be more florid, but basically just talking about CryptoPunk derivatives. And, we three are the best at CryptoPunks ever. We know the most, we're the coolest, and we think that CryptoPunks are dead, but maybe there's one last derivative out there. I'm most excited about it, basically, I think, but are CryptoPunks dead? Dov, you are the most negative.
It's true. I love it. That's a good way to set me up. I'm the most negative specifically about what?
I think you are, I think you're the most negative about, you're the most negative about a couple of things, which are all good. One is I feel like you are very of the mind that CryptoPunks, it's done, basically. And also, you have expressed the idea that, hey, Capsule 21 has put out a lot of stuff this year, a lot of tokens. If you count Punk Pixels, it's an insane amount. But even if you don't count Punk Pixels, I mean, we got, Clickbait, we got Yunks, we got the default punks, we got a lot of supply out there. And, that puts a little bit of a pressure on us in terms of do we want to put more supply out there? And so you've also been a cautioner about more supply, basically, more of the Capsule 21 gruel. Do the people need more gruel? Has been a question that you've put out there.
I mean, I wouldn't call it gruel. I think everything that we do is very cool and worth $1 million per token, of course. Yes. But yeah, I think that there is danger in just continuously releasing stuff. But I don't think CryptoPunks are necessarily dead. Piv is breathing new life into them every week. I think personally, I've run out of punk related ideas, or at least I just haven't been thinking about punk related ideas because I've been focused on other artistic stuff. But yeah, I think it's good to exercise caution and not go too headlong into something over and over again without pausing for reflection.
Yeah, I mean, I think Piv, as we were kind of getting into before the official start of the show, he has an amazing PFP, is putting out some pretty wild stuff adjacent to Capsule 21, but also mainly just his own and not really, I think for me as a programmer, I always need to seek that sense of bigness. The Rem Koolhaas, I think, referred to this. I believe he did. He talked about the quality of bigness in architecture. And, it's easier, I think, if you are more on the artist side where you can just make something. But for me, I'm always like, well, what the program, you can have it loop and go big. So I'm always trying to do the big CryptoPunk projects. And that's what ends up with supply, whether it's a 10K or even more. But I think, Piv, you don't have that anxiety, because you can just create. And so is that good?
Yeah, but I'm not really sure if it's a lot or not. I think something like the default punks, if you consider it as one work, and if you consider each project as one work, it's not that much, but it's just divided into 10,000 pieces. That makes it big.
Right. And so, Piv speaks of default punks, which are, these are some great projects. I just got to say, we were in the, crypto nuclear winter and everyone's cracking open each other's head and feasting on, the stuff in there or whatever. So it's hard to know what the deal is. But some great work by Capsule. This is not a year in review podcast, but it's punk related. We do a lot of great stuff. I think Piv mentions the default punks. This was a great project that sort of asked the question, okay, how many unique silhouettes are there of all the punks, and what does that look like, and how would that look in like a default avatar context? And that's a pretty interesting project, right? Because you're in some sense, you're talking about a bunch of different silhouettes, but in the other sense, you're looking at one number, which is 954, which is just the answer. Sometimes there's like an answer that's not 0 or a million. It's like some weird number like 954. You find that, and that's kind of the art project, and then you kind of go sweeping away the remains of that, which is the actual 954. And it'd be nice if there was some other way to sell this thing where you wouldn't have to like have it mint out, because really I just want to see all of them. That's the problem with bigness, where if people don't want to mint it, it doesn't actually get to be big. And then you look at something like Cyberpunks, which is one of the most classic ever. And part of what makes that just so fun, in addition to like a little taste of success, not too bad, but it's also like you can go and browse all of them, and they're all sick. There are some errors.
Yeah, I like seeing the canon punks, as I refer to like the original 10K with all their trait combos. I like seeing them in all the different iterations. They're like your friends. Like you get to recognize them, and so when you see like a new take on punks, it's like, ooh, but I want to see what like that one specifically looks like. So I understand the desire to go big. I had the same thing today. Maybe this is a good allegory. I was at I said earlier, I was at the art supply store, and my first time going in New York, and I'm from like a small town, so we don't really have like art supply stores. We have like Joann's, but this was like a big art supply store. This is like, this is huge. It's like a New York. It's a whatever. Anyway, they had these canvases in there. They're fucking as big as my apartment. Like these are like the kind of canvases you would go to a museum and like see.
Yeah, but that's a New York apartment and a New York canvas. New York being famous for its tiny apartments and enormous canvases, so that's different. Yeah,
precisely. Yeah, and I had I couldn't buy it. I have the money to buy it, but it's not that expensive. But if I bought it, where would I put it? What do you even do with a canvas that big? It's unruly. It's unreasonable. But I had the desire. I had a very strong desire to paint something on that canvas. I don't know.
Even if you did some basic thing, like this is called like contemporary art, right? Even if you did like a square on it, just maybe a couple nested squares.
I covered the whole canvas with black paint. It doesn't matter.
No, sorry, I can't get behind that. What about a bright blue square in the middle?
Well, sure. Yeah. Besides the point, it's about.
I want it to be happy, though. But yeah, I think something simple on that. I've always kind of wanted to do that, like too, like even as like a, and obviously it's harder than it looks times a million to mask it off and everything. And then some guy like cuts it up in a museum. Remember that?
Yep, I do. Everyone, what's the title of that painting? I'm gonna forget. Who's afraid of the colors red and blue? I don't know, something like.
It's like Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf is basically the.
Yeah, it's taken from like the Virginia Woolf thing.
Yeah, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I didn't even get that was a reference to the Big Bad Wolf thing until I read the Wikipedia page for the painting. But yeah, there's something about bigness. I mean, it's just like, why not? Like when it comes to your wall or whatever. Like if you can put something big there. I think also this was like, televisions, like everyone I think of a certain age has, especially if you've seen a lot of like old televisions when they were 4x3, because you're in your mid to late 30s, why don't we say that? Everyone I think has had the experience of going and saying like, okay, to buy a new TV, wow, these aren't even that expensive. Like, maybe I'll just buy a huge TV, a huge one. And maybe you don't do it for other reasons, but like, I don't know. I think the impulse is there. So, that brings us to today, where we're going to talk a little bit, not by giving up too much. Okay, you're going to have to pay to see. No, it's not going to have to pay, but like it's not good to talk about it first. But I've been kind of running into a wall, and I kind of want to just have it out a little bit, because I have the desire to do one final thing. My first punk derivative was supposed to be my final thing. Then I got involved with these guys. All kinds of good stuff happened, but I want to do one final punk derivative. And I want it to be as big as possible, okay, because that's my meme. And it is basically, I put in the nest, the thing at the top of the Twitter space, a tweet of mine that marks kind of the beginning of my thinking about this project, which is the end of October. So it's really been like, a month and a half at this point where this has kind of been kicking around in my head. I've been playing with it. But the tweet basically says, presenting the 4,680 possible alien CryptoPunks. And it's a big picture. It's a montage of them all together. So pausing there for a second, you see the first thing that I love, which is a number. Like 4,680 possible, it's not like some weirdo huge number. It's a round number. It's kind of small. It's like, okay, that's cool. How many possible aliens are there? We found that. And then you view them in one place and you see in this thing, here's what they all look like and whatever. And then I asked this question in the thing, which one would you like? If you could pick one of these alien ones, which would you take? And people kind of got into it. The zooming stuff is not so good, but basically the idea for the collection would be to take this concept and somehow kind of turn it into an NFT, which is to say, give people the ability to mint the alien that they wanted, and in fact to mint anything, basically, where you have the sort of like an on-chain, unlimited, every possible punk kind of scenario. And interesting idea, kicking it around. You run into the issue of like, well, there's a ton of supply here, and it's like 32 million of them, and what are people even going to do with this? How do you make this palatable? Is this even a good idea? And so I think, pausing. Pause. So basically, I've been pushing. I feel about the desire. I've been pushing Piv and Dove, and they've been, I've been kind of saying like, hey, following up on my question, that kind of thing. But first time we've talked about this in public, not giving away too much. Is bigness good? No dead air.
Oh, is this an audience question? I think this should be an audience question.
Well, I think you both should say, before we turn it over to the audience, like, you should make a comment or something, no?
I think bigness is a quality in itself, yes.
Yes.
So it's good.
I like that. That's a very diplomatic answer.
Is it? No, I think it's really good.
Okay.
Well, but in the context of this project, do you? Well, I mean, we've had, but for the folks at home,
well, in the context
your
of
take.
In the context of this project, I really like the idea to have like an image of all possible punks.
One image of all possible punks.
No, but I mean a mental image or a conceptual image that we have covered all possible punks, even if they are not all minted, but theoretically they're all there.
It's a compelling idea. I mean, this is something that in the ancient Greek times, do infinities exist? Like, there's just this really strong desire to consider things that have a trait as forming a collective whole, like all the natural numbers. Like, do those form a thing that you can look at, or does it just kind of go on forever and keep creeping out of your hands? And so, people love, and he's like, okay, I can put my arms around that. And so with respect to the punks, yeah, it would be nice to just be able to truly consider that a completed whole, the punk universe,
Yeah.
It's kind of a beautiful thing.
I think my take, artistically big is great. Artistically big is what you should always aim for. You should aim to, whether it's physically large or intellectually large or conceptually large, big is better. The only time, and kind of in the, when you talk about CryptoPunks, you're talking about something that is not only in the realm of art, but also just like by nature of what it is as an NFT and as a CryptoPunk. There's a, it's half financial, it's half like a poker chip. And I think when you start thinking about it in that way, that's when big becomes bad. Right. So I think artistically, do I love 4,680 alien CryptoPunks? Yes. When I think about punks as a financial instrument, which in my opinion they are to an extent, even though we try to make them not that, I think inherently they are viewed as that. Then it gives me trepidation. Then I say, is this really the right thing? Because even
which alien though would you pick? That's the last question, and I want to get some audience involvement.
I would
audience,
pick,
think about this. You have to involve yourself, but first, the alien you would choose, Piv and Dove.
alien smile earring.
They smile in this
I don't
version?
know. I don't think that they probably don't. Okay, so my Grailian is hoodie, earring, gold chain. That's the
You can't
Grailian.
see the earring in that case.
So I don't. I want it there. I want to know.
Fine.
I want
Gold
to
chain
know.
meme. Piv, what's your dream alien?
The Grailian, so to speak.
Yes, the Grailian. Yes.
Piv.
I mean, the alien is. I'm just looking at them right now.
Anyway,
what I love about the alien is there are not that many options. You don't have to worry about it so much. Like with the other guys, there's just like so many.
4,600. That's a lot of options.
Yeah, but with like a person or a zombie, it just goes crazy. So who else out there has something to contribute here on the alien front? Does anyone?
I think
if you look at the
for me,
image, yeah, go ahead.
Middlemarch, I think it would be one that you wonder, is this one really not in there? So probably one that is close to the real one, like just missing or so.
So maybe the zero trait.
Yeah, or with the headband.
Yeah, you could say headband plus buck teeth. No, you can't say that. They don't have buck teeth. Sorry. There's a lot of rules with this stuff. That well, anyway, a lot of rules. There's actually only really 2 rules, but there's a lot of like qualifiers. All right, who out there has an alien? Ben Bit, what's up, dude? Check out this PFP. This is iconic punk.
It's a really good
punk silhouette meme.
I love that it looks so with the pipe. It gives it like this square jaw.
Yeah, that's so weird looking. Actually, the pipe really does make it square. Now, every possible punk silhouette, like, how do you prove these things? Like, who knows? You know, the way the way I generated all the aliens, by the way, just by way of you know my process, is I just generated aliens and took the unique set of them. Like, I don't know. It's like I didn't know how to compute that number. I just generated a bajillion and then just found the unique thing. So the number of punk silhouettes, I you know, it's a more complicated computation because you have to generate way more. But you know, I could do it. Don't try me.
Oh yeah, I want to hear from anyone who's listening or up on the stage what your favorite alien is, and then I want to say also in the meantime that I was going to say, you know, in regards to like the art versus like financial thing, like, even when you explicitly tell people that like you don't want it to be a financial thing, people still expect it and then get upset when you don't honor their expectations. And I learned that with Cyberfunks and Yunks. So no matter what you do as the artist to try and say like, no, I'm doing this as like an art thing, people still have that expectation just by nature of it being you know, a punk. So that's my concern in doing so many.
Yeah, I mean, I that's why this is the last one. Exactly my point. But I what this project is trying to square is the idea of choice, which is good, and unlimited choice, which is bad, and unlimited supply, which is bad. But choice, empowerment. They're empowerment punks. Who's got an alien? Come on. I see Chopper out there. He must. I see Kenneth.
Yeah, I had something come up in my mind just thinking this. So I was like, you know, to get down to the single PFPs, you know, then it battles. You know, it always that's the one thing with PFP projects is that it, you know, there's only so many PFPs that can be used, and then it, you know, diminishing returns, even though I've got thousands, you know, and they're fun. But you know, I was just looking at like this big picture and how cool it was, and like, what if it was pictures like of combination of traits of aliens? You know, like the mass picture, basically filter down like, here are the aliens with earrings or something, or so there's one picture with just there's one picture of each combination of traits, you know, and one traits, two traits, that kind of a thing. That was just what I thought in my mind. And on my favorite alien comment, I don't know, I'm kind of partial against aliens because they don't have facial hair, and I'm a big bearded MF, so it's a tough choice for me because I'm always looking for the luxurious or the big beard.
Those tend to be very highly valued. I was looking at the NFT appraisal site.com about like CryptoPunks, and seemed to indicate the luxurious beard is a big one. So you're definitely not alone. So yeah, I do think that, and that's part of what makes the alien so easy. There's no like, doesn't really change their features. There's no luxurious beard, big beard where it morphs the face. It's just like tacking stuff on. Like here's some, VR. But yeah, I think the one of the lessons of this putting this art out is that people say they like these big images and they like them fine, but actually to like look at the thing, you have to contextualize. You have to be more of a director. You can't like just have people zooming and panning around. It'd be nice to sort of say, here, look at this slide, swipe, look at this slide. And so yeah, putting out the combinations in a way that kind of could have like a nice feeling of order there versus totally scrambling it. Where's Waldo style? Incidentally, Piv did Where's Waldo style for Spot the Funk, which is very much in keeping with this concept, which is actually not Where's Waldo, but Piv, where you're from, it's called what?
I don't know what you're referring
Where's
to.
Wally? Remember Where's Wally with the funk?
No.
It's like the big bunch of punks, and then there's one funk, the left-facing kind, and it was like find that person. Where's what? Just like the children's book, Where's Wally? Or in America, Where's Waldo?
Yes, that's vaguely. That's very a long time ago, I think.
Yeah, I don't forget, Piv. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
very yes, that was a long time ago.
Non-threatening. I don't forget.
Yeah, don't f with me. No, you can f with me, but it's I forget. I remember the iconic punk, but that's similar to this in a way. The sort of big, and that was true of the original montage. Some kind of Waldo vibe there. Yoke.
Hey, I think the question about you're saying big, I think of it like scale too. So are you thinking of like multiples as big or just viewing them as big? I'm sort of confused on that, but I think when you have so many choices, it's hard to pick something. So naturally, I tend to think, well, like, it should be a smaller set of things that are like have some general, I don't know, I guess I could say curate some of them out.
To choose is the worst. Yes, I agree. Well, here's the concept also, just to kind of lay things out as it's currently imagined, and I'm not trying to give away too much, but the concept is basically just as you could look at this array of aliens and think about which one you might want, what if you could mint that one that you want? And not just the alien, what if you could mint one of any other array? And you suppose the array is defined in a way that's like small enough to keep it interesting. So like aliens are 4,000, you don't want to just mint the man you want because that's millions. So it'd have to be, small shades plus cigarette plus okay, that's small enough. Okay, now that's the array. So mint what you want from there. And then there's some kind of scarcity in terms of the fact you can't just mint any literal possible punk, but it is based on this array. But the array is still like pretty big. So there would be some kind of mechanism by which you could, over the course of time, mint your favorite alien, and then also mint your favorite, luxurious beard, big shades, vape, or whatever is small enough that it would be, whatever is specific enough that would keep it reined in to a reasonable number of options. You wouldn't have millions of things to choose from. But this is the concept. So yeah, it's basically give the user choice, not too much choice, and also gesture at the infinite, reality of what's out there. Plus the concept of saying, hey, we can generate a cool looking image, that matches this, this tweet where you can just like click and then see this big array and you can try to mint from it. And maybe there'll be some other mechanics in there too. thinking of doing an auction type thing, but this is the concept. So big, but not too big.
Yeah, I agree that it's difficult to choose if you have so many options. And the other thing you did with few trades versus a lot of trades, that kind of helped me look at them, I think, because you can compare, you go from one side to the other side. So maybe you should put this tweet up too with
Yeah, let me find it.
with the two versions.
Wow, I'm getting good at the nest right now. Okay, here we go. This is same day. Oh, and by the way, another feature of this would be that you can't mint one of the originals. And so how important is that? Because, and this is something I'm thinking about doing for the culture, by the way, you can't mint an original. It's very difficult to detect whether something is an original, right? You have to, whatever. So to make that fast, I'm thinking that I will put the originals on the chain in that format so you can map attributes to ID and see if there is an ID. And that will cost probably about 2.4 ETH to do that. And so the question is that, is this project going to make it worth it? But then, it's for the culture. That's another thing. But anyway, look at this tweet. Here are punks that are not in the original collection that have a lot of attributes and not. And so are you part of the gang of many or few? There's the zero trait in the few, which, zero trait alien, which is a hot commodity. And on the right, there's it's completely insane to look at the ones on the right. Alien, VR, headband, earring, gold chain, cigarette is one example on the right. So this is kind of a the few traits one is just really hard to get enough for that, because they're of course they're the 8 zero traits, but we got the one trait smile, the zero trait ape, zero trait zombie, zero trait alien. So yeah, are you zero trait game or multi trait gang? What gang are you in?
I think the sweet spot is right in the middle. I think
again,
like 3, 4, 5, like that's excellent.
Yeah, I think, and this could also be part of the Megapunk project of like it could be aliens, but then we do the slider. You can only do 3 trait aliens for today. There are a lot fewer of those. But that's how you actually kind of get sort of interesting. Like you could imagine dialing it down. Okay, 3 trait aliens with the gold chain and 2 other traits, and that's all. You've got to move. You got to move quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think the PFP concept, as you were saying, Ken, is it's really this paradox, right? Because you want to say, hey, this is not like some poker chip. This is whatever it is. It is what it is. And then it's like, well, it's a PFP, but I only have one F, I think. I only have one face. And so I can only use one of these at a time. And so even if I get my Grail one, why do I need to own 10 of these? And maybe you don't, but if you have a collection of like millions like this one, theoretically speaking, what is the point? They just make you feel good, I think, is the other side of it. I like owning, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't mean to come off negative on it. I just
no. I mean, I think it's a good. You raised a good question. I wasn't thinking about it that way. I think it's a it's a good, just explaining to a normal person this. It's like, okay, cool, I get it, but don't you just need 1 or 2? No, I need a lot. All right. What about BenBit? If you're no pressure, but I feel like curious to get your thoughts as a sort of nuanced perspective haver on default punks. What's up, Yoke?
Oh, I just wanted to comment on that. I like that you're not trying to overlap the canon punks, as Dovetail calls them, or the originals. And if I could make
it, spend $3,000 on that, yeah.
Yeah.
We see. Hopefully, ETH goes down.
It's reminiscent to me of like Robot 9000 board, where every post has to be unique.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I like the idea where I think it's going.
Of course, though, whether it's text or the punks, it doesn't actually work because, to Dub's point about the hoodie earring situation, like there are punks with different attributes that still look exactly the same, and likewise there are letters with different, Unicode things that look exactly the same. So it's actually impossible to do any of this kind of thing. But I'm going to try. I don't want there to be the attributes that are exactly the same.
What about fixing the hoodie earring, or would you prefer to keep it?
It's not broken.
Right, it's not broken.
Yeah, it's not. It's good. I want to increase it. Actually, I want other things to become impossible to. One thing you could say is just say no earring if there's a hoodie.
Well, I think this is the most interesting thing of doing quote unquote every punk, because every punk is kind of a loaded, question. How do you do every punk? There are things that you can't have, or Matt and John never laid out rules for what could and couldn't be, but by looking at the 10,000 canon punks, you kind of get a feel for like, oh, clearly they made it so you can't do X, you can't do Y. And so the question then is like, how do we identify all of the rules that Matt and John have for their 10K? And do we apply them or do we not? And is it our decision to write those rules in? I think that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah. So the rules, by the way, we talked about this a lot. If you're looking to make your own thing with CryptoPunks, there's a bunch of things about which attributes are allowed, right? Like obviously the men can't get the woman attributes, at least in the original thing per the canon, whatever. Also the apes and aliens can't have facial hair, but there's like a bunch of other little details there. But that's just allowed attributes. Now, what about rules? It turns out there are only 2 rules, I think. Rule 1 is that you can't have pilot, helmet, and glasses of any kind. And rule 2 is you can't have welding goggles and hat. And unless I'm getting it wrong, those are the only 2 like if this then that rules. The other ones are just picked from these restricted buckets. So it's actually, it's pretty complicated to like know what works for all the traits, and like, can you do green eyeshadow on the zombies? Like that's don't get started on that thing. I'm gonna allow it, whatever, fine. But only 2 big rules. Are there other rules that I'm forgetting?
Oh, there's tons of rules. Like Kenneth just said, the bearded alien thing.
No, but that's just traits. Sorry. I put them in 2 different buckets. Like allowed traits is just like, okay, what traits are allowed for, the different types. But when I think of rule, I think of like, if this, then that, like this trait affects this other trait. Like that's an additional level of complexity that makes this thing, like the pilot helmet.
I think
thing. But yeah, the trait thing.
Yeah, the lipsticks and the like cigarettes and stuff.
Wait, what?
I think that's another one on the female punks. There's something to do with their lipstick.
Bro, you're just telling me this now in front of everyone? I guess that's the purpose of this.
It's hard to keep track of all. There's so many things.
And what is it? Because I'm not sure what it.
I think it's that the female punks can't have like a cigarette and red lipstick.
Wow, how do you know this? Now I gotta
Isn't
look
that
on
the
my
same
boomer
mouth
computer.
trait though? Isn't that why it is?
Well,
Or
it's
is
hard
it-
to say because they don't have like.
Oh, they're not separate like that, are they?
Right.
There's mouth prop and mouth, right? I don't know what lipstick goes under.
Lipstick is well. This I can tell you, by the way, the actual categories in terms of the what actually is there, because there's a bunch like on various projects like Cyberfunks has like emotion or whatever. It's sex, mouth/lips. Okay, that's buck teeth and lips. Face, neck, beard, ears, hair, mouth accessory, much farther, eyes, nose. So there's none of this emotion thing or face spots, like goodbye. But
I think I'm wrong. I just lied.
Yes.
I'm looking at them now.
Yes, me too. The 201 has a.
I want to say there is some weird rule with the lipstick stuff. I don't know. I remember running into an issue somewhere. Anyway, there's lots of weird.
No, the thing with the lipstick is that there are 3 variations of of brown lips, because that's a semi-transparent one, and the other ones are just black, purple, and red. So that's one thing you have with the lipstick. But the brown is not really lipstick. That's just the default lip color. So this one is semi-transparent.
So it's lip gloss, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now I'm going through my set. So are there any other? Now I'm scared. Now I'm very scared. Are there any other rules that I am forgetting that anyone here can use in their own CryptoPunks projects?
Well, there's obvious things like apes and aliens can't have buck teeth or emotions, right?
Yeah, but those I think we've solved, because those you can kind of do by crossing it off. I think we're good there. But rules are more sinister, where this one affects this other thing. So you can't evaluate, is this punk, is there a rule by just looking at one? You have to do this lipstick thing. The lipstick cigarette thing really threw me. I know it's not real, but still, it really got me good. So that's
tricky stuff.
So good. So yeah, there are a lot of rules. What Ben Bitt, I noticed you accepted the speakership. What are your thoughts as a opinion haver?
Yeah, I love this conversation, and like I think there's value in large collections and small, depending on the concept behind them. But I do that's one of the reasons I really like the whole default punk, because it's more limited. I think a lot of good art comes when we put those restrictions on it. And I'm trying to get a hoodie. That's what I keep going on.
But would you want a hoodie if there were 100,000? If there were 500,000?
Come on, no, that's not the right way to put it. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah.
You want one?
Yeah, no, that absolutely affects what I would want, and that's so for and I agree. For the larger collection, like the alien one, I would want fewer properties, because I don't know if mathematically it works out that there's fewer of them, but that's just, I guess, what I'd shoot for. But yeah,
what alien would you take?
I just hoodie with everything else.
One trade property. Hoodie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Does that actually exist? I don't know.
Definitely
in the real collection?
No.
Not in the real collection.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's well, there's a lot of aliens possible, but the one traits, there aren't so many one trait, aliens possible. So that would be that's kind of a subcategory of this, every possible one trait punk. How many are there of those?
So it kind of creates a collection within the collection, which I think that's. I would love it if you guys go down that route. So I will definitely be a purchaser.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What do you think of the what is a what do you think of this themes concept? This is just feedback on a thing that we've been bouncing around, right? Where it's okay, every day or every week, but call it every day for the purpose of this conversation, so it feels more immediate. Every day you go to the site, okay? You see an array of punks that have certain properties to them, say alien, one trade aliens, as anything or whatever. And those are the punks that are available, and there's some kind of auction mechanic or some kind of, I don't know, auction, but some kind of mechanic that makes it just not like sniper time.
Yeah, I think it'd be for the people that follow. I feel like that would be a good mechanic to get people to check in every once in a while. Top of mind, and something you can tweet periodically as different categories come up. I think that's I find what I like about what you guys do is just the concepts behind it. So would this be a way to prune it down, as opposed to having to look at everything, or not having to, but just seeing everything all at once?
Yeah, just have some notion of limited supply. Also, I do have a dream. This year in many ways was the year of nouns, which is a DAO thing, right? We all know about nouns, and I didn't even really know about them until a couple months ago. I started looking at the space more closely, but they really had the breakout. Basically, it was the year of ENS and the year of nouns. Essentially, this is my not original industry analysis. And with nouns, there's a lot you can say about it, obviously, but just the most basic premise of just like a blah, 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 like a noun every day forever. And of course, Chopper and Kenobi made their own imprint on this with the CryptoPunks auction house, which also does some things every 3 days. Doesn't have the same ring to it, but still very good. But just, it's a very seductive idea, right? This notion that like a thing will just happen, and maybe it's not even going to be the most successful thing, but it's just doing it, and it's on the chain. You don't have to think about it every second. So having a infinite time period type thing, which is what nouns says they are, and I think they probably are, although will be having a really long time horizon type thing that just keeps happening, and then it's infinite, but like it doesn't actually you don't have to constantly, it doesn't take infinite work. So there's an appealing side to that as well, like some kind of machine that just works, and I can go live my life in peace and not have to worry about punks. And the machine will just take care of rotating out the big shades for the other one, and we see. But it's
like automating part of that, like you just generate every single possible and then create the categories and have it, or just mix and match. That sounds
what
cool.
should the user see? Like I don't want to I with the infinity idea, I just don't want to be I don't want to show everything in front of the user. I don't want to curate it, but I don't know. I think there's and this is the thing that's like the actual hard part, which Chopper knows, is that having ideas and website and contract and fine, whatever, but making a good website is still very, very hard. And if I was really trying to do the high effort route, you could imagine like their expansion punks has this thing where you can like really explore everything, and like you could imagine like clicking attributes and things, and all the punks are flying around all everywhere, and you can see every possible one like all over the place, and some you can mint. So you can imagine something like this. It's a lot of work. So it might be too much work.
Well, one last thing before I step off. I would like to see, I mean, if you to mint like a single image of all the different categorize them by like aliens or whatever else, and have like a scale vector graphics where you can zoom in on them and everything else. Like I would want to own that punk or the alien one with all of them on it in one single vector image. So
that's interesting. I like that. That's really interesting. I think yeah, I mean, we've done some of this in the past with like the Maryland's project and this kind of thing, like where we put multiple on the same thing. I haven't really pushed that to its limit, really, where you could have like a multiple. I don't know if you could get 4,000. I think you could probably get like 20 or something maybe from the smart contract, but that was last time I checked. I think it would be cool, to say, okay, this is going to be the biggest scale on-chain thing, punk thing, and render that out. Maybe that could be like part of this.
What if they were all laid out on a grid? You could like scroll through them all. Like you could like click and drag to like look through it. Like it was like a big giant image. And then when one was purchased, I'm brainstorming live. This might be not a feasible thing to do. But if you own one in the big image, you can choose to like color the background. And then when you zoom out on the whole thing, you could like try and own a sector of them, right?
The million punk page.
Right. And then it's not just about owning the one that you like, but you're like, I'm gonna really corner like this corner of the quote unquote like map,
the
right?
hoodie
Like
corner.
I want to. So then you have like
that's
like if
interesting.
you played like Crusader Kings, you have to like control your territory.
But the map is so big in this case. But I think that's a good point.
But if you zoomed out and they were really cheap, then you could buy a ton of these little like. Then that's like your army. Like those are your guys.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. It's also another interesting idea when it comes to big numbers, and if any math people are out there, like with punks, it's like you can put them in an order. You can put them in a definite order. I know this. I know a little stuff about math, not very much, but you can put it in order. You can take the punks, not just the order that the originals happen to be in. Who knows what that order came from? But an order that is derivable purely from the attributes, and then you could, in theory, have like just a line of all punks that just by a simple rule, not like someone specifying the order in advance, by a simple rule kind of lays it out. And that would be a cool, thing to do as well, like a big array of every punk in, a non-random order that's like defined by like comparing the, the attributes and so forth. I've not figured out a good way to do that. I have not such a good way. One way you can do it is you can say, okay, there are 10 attributes, and we're going to take each attribute and encode it as a byte, and then we're going to take those bytes and jam them together into an 80-bit number, and that is the number that identifies the punk. But there are better ways to do that. But what should the background color be? Dov, you mentioned background. This is something Piv I also need, because this is one thing I've been bothering them about in the Discord. This is the only thing, when you're making a punk derivative, really, you should not be doing anything new, but you can do the background color that's new.
Yeah, we played around with the idea, and I'm curious for people in the audience to give their feedback. Maybe we can throw up some maybe we can throw up some emojis to do like a voting thing. What do we think about the idea of a textured background where it would be like a gradient, or it would be like noise, or like some sort of other pattern rather than just a solid color, or simply picking a new solid color? So if you like the texture idea, you should throw up a thumbs up now. Can I get thumbs up if you like that idea? Thumbs down if you don't like that idea. Overwhelming. Well, tides are turning. We got 4 thumbs up. We got
Is thumbs
4
downing
thumbs
hurting
down.
the algorithm right now?
No. The more emojis is the better.
Okay,
so it seems like, I don't know, it's pretty split. Chopper throws up a fist. I think that is a tie breaker of some sort. Maybe half the background is textured, half of it is solid colored, and then none of us are happy, and that's really good. But cool, that provided us no new information.
we tried the texture with Yunks.
Yeah.
It was cool, but it caused all kinds of headaches. It ruined my life. I mean, I like the way it looks, but at what cost?
Well, we'll do something, and it'll make half of you happy, and it'll make half of you upset. And I won't tell you which one it'll be. So you'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Because there's no way to do a texture. It just, like someone, actually, let me just publicly apologize to them because I felt shame about it. Someone, if you're listening to this and it's you, I'm sorry. Someone DM'd me and said, how do I get a PNG of my Yunk? And I was just like, oh, okay, I was just paralyzed with shame. And so I basically didn't respond. And then Dove, I think, maybe responded to the same person. So I felt better. At least they found their answer. But I just felt so bad about it because it's just like, it looks cool. Like, it's an iconic look. But it's just like, I mean, maybe we should build a website to allow people to do that. But even then, it's really impossible to do that. Like, there's no way to get a PNG of this thing. So what are we doing here? So basically, that person kind of shook me to my core.
Yeah, that was a moment where I was like, I don't know how to answer you. Like, it's such a simple question, and like, you should ask that question. Like, how do I download this thing that I bought? And I don't know what to tell you. Like, it comes in an SVG. And the other thing that's weird about Yunks is that when you scale it, it changes it. So screenshot it is like my best. Get it to a res in which you like it the way it looks, and then screenshot it. There is no correct.
On which browser? Screenshot it on Safari.
Well, yeah, whichever one you like the best. It's up to you. It's dynamic art.
Yeah, it is actually kind of cool that it's dynamic.
But yeah, background colors are interesting. I like the idea of having them all like visible on a page, and then you could, you could choose the color. You know how on Not Larva Labs it lets you like pick a color for the background to use as like a PFP. Shadow Copper. I think that would be cool to choose the background on a grid, and then you could like see what other people were choosing.
So we're really doubling down in this, interactive art. So really,
I mean, I like that idea. I don't know if I'm doubling down on it. I'm just saying that I like the idea of like user interactability.
As long as they set one of the colors Piv has used in his explorations using that tool. Like all red, or I don't know. What did you do with that, Piv? Didn't you do some like the Maryland thing or whatever?
With the Maryland thing?
Like you did some explorations with the Not Larva Labs profile pick
Oh, yeah,
generator.
I think the nicest ones were these that it's like a giant wig. If you take the background color the same as the hair color, you have like these 18th century wigs. These I remember because the whole square looks like it's hair.
Well, that would be a bold choice
No,
for
but
this collection.
there are some experiments to do with it, yes. But my concern about the background for this was if you want to do all punks except the real punks, but all possible punks, don't you want to look it very close to the punks then and keep the background? That was my idea, to not have the texture.
Of course, that's what I want. But is that wise? But yeah, hell yeah. The blue. Like,
yeah, the blue
very
is good.
few
I
punk
think
derivers get to do a blue thing. Like the Funks did one. That was good for them.
Yeah, shout out to Zagabond. Good.
I mean, seriously, B1 punks,
Notoriously
not
good
blue.
guy. No, I like the blue. I think it would be. I'm down with the idea of keeping it, default blue. What's up, Yoke?
Oh, well, to comment on the background color, you just mentioned. I wanted to bring up something that you just mentioned. I think the Funks don't have a background, so I guess they just use like what Larva Labs did. And maybe Zagabond had some choice in that. I don't know.
I think they do now because it got changed when custody of the contract was regained. All the images were changed.
Cool. That's something I didn't know. And then I guess I wanted to ask or pick the speakers on not a texture. I think of like shapes and stuff in the background, but I guess I have to reconfigure my answer because I've done derivatives with crypto nunks with gradient backgrounds, and I think that's like a pretty good trade-off. It gives a little depth, but there's a lot of variability in there if you were to allow somebody to change it. So I don't know if that falls into textured or not, but I do like gradient and solid colors.
Yeah, we tossed around a few gradients in our little DM group. I think they look good. I think the classic is good. The problem with gradients is that they don't tile well. And with this collection, I think looking at a lot of them at once is really key. And then it's harder to do if you have a gradient. You have to have all sorts of rules to have them like rotate and tessellate.
Very interesting. Okay.
And yeah, the color could change when it could just be like, straight up copied, as long as we're not using the original punks, we're safe, right? No affiliation. Who knows? You're never totally, maybe sometimes you are totally safe, but maybe the colors could change, and have it just be like, or no, maybe you change the color if you want it, but yeah, having it be like, okay, these, but doing a UI with all of this stuff and it's the effort level, but you go and you see the color is normal, and then you can see one color if it's like being auctioned, one color if it's owned, it could be, kind of what the original thing on Larva Labs, the original had the blue and then the red and then there's purple too for like bids. So they actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's cool. There's like a green for the wrapped ones as well. That's an official Larva Labs choice.
Oh, right.
I have to think of soft story now with the ape where there was a bit on, and then it had the purple background in his gallery, in his museum.
Oh, right.
And he hated it, I think.
That's amazing.
Kind of funny, actually.
So punks, when there's a bid, the color changes, and apparently that flows through to on cyber. So if someone bids on your punk and your punk is in your baller on cyber thing, it will look, different and maybe bad. But the punk bids thing, quick side thing on that. There was an iconic meme this week, which is the problem with bidding, is that someone tried to accept like their own bid or something on a punk, and then anyone can you don't accept a specific bid on CryptoPunk's market. You just accept the current highest bid as long as it's over a certain amount. That's the action you are taking. I think the same is true on Larva Labs. You accept the current bid as long as it's at least 5 ETH or whatever. And so that means if someone at the last second, using a flash bot or whatever, I don't know, using something to front run, comes in, and you don't even have to do the highest. You have to be tied for the highest, basically. That person will get accepted. So anytime you are bidding on punks, there's really no way for you to win, because either you're going to overpay, or if you are not overpaying, at the very moment the person decides to accept it, someone else will get in a little bit of a higher bid than yours with the same bid. So this site won't have that problem. But yeah, maybe you should have a market built in with the.
Is that really how it works? I mean, the reason that Punk's OTC was able to get that Punk for 61 ETH instead of the floor of 65 is because it cost him, it cost him 61 ETH in gas, I think, to get on the same block.
Right. Yeah. First.
Right. So I think you can bid. I don't think it's like that dangerous to bid on punks, but yeah, that was an interesting story.
Yeah, I guess the bid has to be really low for it to be worth paying that much money to bribe. It's a bribe, actually. I think it's going to pay off the validator, whatever. But it is kind of an interesting concept. But yes, I think it would be cool for this site to have like a auctions enabled marketplace too. I don't know if anyone's gonna like want this, but I think if you want to talk about infinity, I could build it into the maybe I should just build it into the contract.
I want to hear from more people on the idea itself to do every punk. I would love to have more people come up to speak and just share your thoughts on seeing every punk. Seeing, how many is it in total? How many million punks are there possible?
Well, that depends. Say call it 30 million.
Yeah. So what do you think about the idea of a NFT collection of 30 million CryptoPunks, and they're all unique? Just like on its face. Like, let's forget about like, oh, this mechanic. What do we do? How do we do the background, etc., etc. You open you are minting something, and it says supply 31 million. Like, what thoughts on that, Madyak?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So is that 31 million with just the default configurations like apes without hair and stuff?
That's right. Yeah, call it. Maybe it's closer to 20. It's 20, 25. But yes, that's the sticking to the rules. But I do want to disallow earring and hoodie because not all those will be unique visually, but attributes wise, yes.
Wow, I never would have guessed it was that many. That's wild. I had something to say earlier and I forgot it. Maybe if I think of it, I'll pop back in.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's interesting, right? Because there are aliens and apes, which are the same number because they have the same rules. That's like 4,600, 4,700. Okay, so given that, all right, now we're at 10 grand possible apes and aliens. Wow, okay. How does it explode to being 8 figures? It's like the extra possibilities of hair and facial hair basically mean a lot. You multiply it all out, it gets to pretty crazy numbers.
So you'll just basically disallow the initial 10,000?
That is the idea, yes. And pay a lot of ETH to do that, probably. But I think, again, I think I'm going to...
Sounds like a lot of work.
Kill this. Yeah. I'm working at it for, over a month now, off and on, kind of just like playing with it. What are some other hidden trait combinations I shouldn't allow? Now I'm obsessed with this. Earring plus hoodie.
Isn't there a bucktooth face mask?
Good call.
Yeah, smile. Well, actually, never mind.
Smile face mask?
Yeah,
big beard and frown and smile, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Madyak, what do you think about the idea of just having, just like on its face, like if you are on OpenSea and you're like, holy shit, there's there's 30 million NFTs in this collection. Does that like scare you away? Do you like that? Is that cool? What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna buy them. I mean, like, I'm gonna buy them just because I like them, and hopefully they're gonna be cheap so I can buy a whole shit ton of them and maybe get a real cool one.
They're going to be 1 ETH each, and we're hoping to raise 30 million ETH in the seed round.
But ETH will be very cheap at that point, so
Yeah, it'll be zero.
It's fine. So, well, let me ask you this question. The problem here's one way to do it, right? So, it also has this element of choice, and so part of there could be a thing where it's just like get into it, let her rip, right? Go mint and get a random one, and that's actually kind of annoying to do because it's like, what is a random punk, and how do you figure that out? Like, do I use the original rarities? Do I come up with rarities? Like, there's no such thing as rarity when it is all of the punks. It's like, so I don't want to generate punks. Generating punks does not make sense for a project this big. But if people get to choose their punk, then people are going to choose the best one. So, I'm trying to figure out a way to make that work. Price wise,
wouldn't that be like? Wasn't the initial 10K basically you just go in and pick the ones you wanted?
Yeah,
right.
Instead, we're sorting through 25, 30 million.
Will be some subs that you'd be picking, but yeah, something like that. Basically, people didn't know. It's basically something like that, really, because in the beginning, people didn't actually know, what was going on. I think, like, I think people liked the aliens, but then zombies were good. Like, it's just there's no such thing as rarity when it's every punk, and there's also no such thing as rarity when you've never seen these things before. Obviously, you can do the calculation on them, but who could have really predicted hoodies instantly? So yeah, I'm, and of course, if people mint the most desirable ones, then rarity will be kind of out the window, anyway, because the other ones won't make it to mint.
Maybe instead of rarity scores, we can, as a team, rank traits and trait combos with like a coolness factor, and then it's not a rarity ranking; it's a cool ranking, and then we can assign each one a score based on it's a complex mathematical equation to designate.
I think that's great. Having a numerical score for each one of these.
This is kind of a Milady thing, which I think is the coolest thing about the Milady project is that they have, rankings like in a video game. This is an S rank NFT. I think that's like the coolest thing they do. It'd be cool to have like a star system. This is a 5-star punk, or this is a 1-star punk. Can we do
I think that would be sick.
Michelin star rated punks and like designate how good they are?
So how
Well, what if you could hold the attributes out, like, so you couldn't sort, so you'd have to physically sort through the images like they did in 2017?
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
no
I think
attributes?
that'd be cool. I think the big thing with this project is that every good idea, it's like, oh well, we're gonna have to do like a very fancy UI for that. That seems to be like what most ideas circle back to. So, like Middlemarch, I know you're not like keen on doing a ton of
work.
like web work.
Maybe I do like not showing there's something about not showing the attributes. I mean, the issue with these types of things is that in order to make it actually like work, people need to be able to, I could make it not decentralized, but assuming here people like decentralization, people need to be able to go to the contract itself and mint. And if they can figure out how to do that, which won't be that hard, then, it's really just this question of, okay, whatever you present in the UI is one thing, but people will be able to go directly to the contract and mint anything they are allowed to. And so, yeah, how to think about, what that looks like versus the UI. But if people are really trying to sidestep the UI, that's probably a good success. I win. We win if you do that, by the way. But
there's no way you can sidestep the UI. What are you going to do? Type in the token ID?
Yeah, you could come up with the yeah, exactly. You could come up with the attributes you like, figure out how to convert that into a token ID, and go mint that token ID.
Good luck to anyone who's going to try to figure out how to convert the right traits into the right token ID.
It would not be entirely straightforward, but still doable probably. But yes, I think the UI is probably going to be the best way to accomplish this. And the other beautiful thing with the token ID is that because of what you're saying, the token ID will also encode the traits of the punk. So merely by telling someone I own this NFT number 5742, blah, 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 someone will be able to immediately visualize based on that number, the ID alone, they'll be able to visualize what it looks like, assuming they know an incredible amount about punks and also a lot about, programming or whatever. So there's no extra data that is required to store what the thing looks like. It's all in the token ID,
Right.
which is sort of like fun, I guess.
I want to say ancillary. I just saw an hour ago in our Capsule 21 Twitter group, which if you aren't in it and want to be, where we talk about nerd stuff, just send me a DM. I'll add you. Ancillary said, idea for your derivs: shitpunk recycling. Trade in your punk and funk derivatives for a new remix derivative. Use a used burnt token as assets to generate a new punk. And we actually had this idea, but we kind of came to maybe not a final conclusion, but a conclusion that it's really difficult to do. You have to figure out kind of like the economics. People paid X amount. Is it going to be worth it for them to do that? When you factor in the cost of gas to burn, to transfer, to mint a new one, all of these things, is it worth it for people? And then the other factor is that, okay, say we want to do you can trade in default punks and yunks, and then you get this new one. So we're consolidating supply. But then, then we reduce the supply of those. And so you're kind of, detracting something from, the idea of those being a 10K if we just delete all of them or burn all of them, But yeah, it's a cool idea. We thought about that as well. Because
I'm sorry, shitpunks. Listen, if you want to burn my stuff, more power to you. You're on your own. I'm not helping you burn any of my. That stuff is good stuff. It's not sh asterisk t punks. It's good punks. But I see the appeal of the mechanic. I don't know. We did bounce this.
Yeah. Again, this is kind of where we're having to wrestle between we like doing this stuff artistically, and then you have to consider that people are interested in the financial aspect, and they're like, "Whoa, you guys!" The Capsule 21 collective as a whole has a total supply of 100 million tokens. If we do every punk with 30 million plus punk pixels, we'll be close to fucking 50 million total supply for Capsule 21.
Well,
NFTs.
Just wait. And Pip had this idea. Just wait for the new collection, which is every pixel on every possible punk.
Yeah, then we have billions of NFTs, and then so much for supply and demand. In the future, when the Earth's population is 10 trillion, then then you'll be thanking us.
We're preparing.
Then we'll be, yeah.
The price of ETH will be. Whew. How's our bet doing, Dove?
Oh, the V1 price bet?
Yeah, where did we write that down? I wish we had used an official forever message, but we used an unofficial one. But yeah, you said it was going to be. What did you say it was going to be?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't looked at NFTs in a month. I have not been on OpenSea in a month.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't go.
How much is a V1 Punk right now? I have no idea.
All right, I'll check. I'll go to Gem. Basically, Dub is bearish, and I don't even know what I am exactly. I'm neutral.
Somewhere in between. You think everything is just going to crab?
I don't know. Yeah, V1 Punk's official wrapped the. What is this? Okay, forget it. I can't find it.
Oh, it's 4.92 ETH. I think I predicted sub 1 ETH. Yes. I think that was my prediction. Was they would be worth less than an ETH.
Yes, sub 1 ETH. So yeah, I don't know why I brought that up. It's kind of a depressing thing. We should not be rooting for the downfall of punk derivatives. or in those cases, the originals. Okay, it's almost time to leave. Sorry, I'm not going to get into that whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole bag of worms in the last little bit of the pod.
It's almost time to leave. I have to go be with my family. No, I have to go do more NFT stuff. Or will I? What is everyone feeling? Parting shots. I now feel the incredible desire to put this out. I already felt that. Basically, this has changed nothing, but I have fed off this energy, so it's helped me. And also this idea of that might change something is this hidden trait thing, the frown and mask thing. I gotta kill all that stuff. Like, goodbye. So that's gonna make a change. And yeah, I really appreciate the energy. This is, you've really yeah, it's crazy. We're pretty deep in, and y'all are still giving the ideas and the thoughts and stuff and the support. So it's really cool. This is not a year in review podcast, so I'm not going to wax on about how great everything is, but soon that will come, I promise you. And of course, as you know, we are going to be doing a podcast a week, every week through the end of 2023, and then we are going to do an episode, which I'm actually going to schedule. We're going to do an episode called "Anyone Can Succeed in Podcasting as long as you are willing to have the grit and commitment to do a podcast episode every single week." We're going to have this episode, and you're going to have to come, and we're going to be right.
And not just every week, but every week for a year.
For a year, sorry, of course, every week for a year. Yeah, that's exactly. And then we're just going to. So thank you for your support. What else we got? Is this?
Are you trying to wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's time to. I think it's I think the parting shots time.
Yeah. Anyone else has anything? Has them. Please request yourself to stage, or just start talking. What's up, Yoke?
Oh, I like the idea of what you're brewing up to the penultimate, congruent punk collection of every trait possible. The pixel differences to the IDs seems like a great idea too for your notion of making it aesthetically unique. And I I take a lot of inspiration from you guys, and I think you all didn't even talk about the way RRBAYC was rolled out, but I really liked that method of how you did that, and I think it was pretty straightforward and simple. I don't know if it was, solely Middlemarch, your idea or somebody else, but I think that was cool. And the shuffle button, pick for me.
Ooh, that's a good memory. The shuffle button.
Yeah, so I like the idea. And
a shuffle button for this. That's huge. How did I not think of that? I programmed it. Okay, here we go. Shuffle button. Thank you. That's great.
I really like my video game idea where it's like a map. And then you know how the tycoon.eth has the CEO of punks? You could be the king of punks if you control the most uncontested territory. I don't know what you would get for that. You get a plaque on the wall at the Capsule 21 headquarters.
Yeah, it's like CEO. How about king? Yeah, I think getting territory could be cool too. Tycoon? Who is that guy? I think I know who that person is. Yeah, I think. What is it to be the CEO of punks? It's a great concept, by the way. I really do. I really do love that. I love Tycoon. He has his own beanie, amazing beanie. Who else? We got Bonner. We got Bonner. The Smoke, by the way, I wish shout out the Smoke fam. If anyone has been smoke pilled out there, you know that this was a big week for all of us in that the V1 Smoke, we were actually just talking about V1. The V1 Smoke's transparency issue has been fixed, and this has been a thing for me where I talked about it, and it was a whole thing, and it was a meme basically. But now it's over because it's fixed and it's cool. Basically, CryptoPunks have a variety of transparent attributes. Piv pointed out one of the lipsticks is, the rosy cheeks. A lot of these things are semi-transparent, but when they layer on top of opaque skin, which is not transparent at all, they turn into a color. But the smoke, since it's not over a skin, is semi-transparent, and that affects the background display. So consider yourself warned to never think about this again, but shouts to Bonner fam for helping ram that through and being a good bro and guy. And thank you all for listening to this. This is the Capsule 21 podcast. It's every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time on a Twitter space. It's live. If you appear in the space, you can be on the pod simply by talking, which will allow you to advance your career and improve your speaking ability. And that is all free and just comes from coming and talking. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, please come join us. I'm Middlemarch at Dumb Name Numbers. My co-hosts are Piv at Piv_Piv and Dovetail at Dovetail. There's a little bit of a weird spelling in there, but you'll find it.
D0VETAII.
I Dovetail. Okay. And we are Capsule 21. If you're listening to this, you are next.